Evolution equals change. It's just change in species, or change over time. It's not even in species. So it's, when we talk about the theory of evolution, we're not necessarily saying that in its basic form, it's not origin of species. It's not saying that all things came from a very simple single-celled organism. It's saying that species change over time. And this is as close to an accepted fact as you can get in anything else, because we have observed change in over time in the lab, over just a few matter of months in bacteria, or to a year, years in fish. So we have a lot of different examples of species change over time. So organic evolution is the evolution or changes that have occurred in living organisms. Is your blank? Number one, it's generally accepted that present-day organisms have evolved from ancient organisms. And again, that's like a subsection of the definition of evolution. It's not like the main idea behind when we say things evolve. Evidence includes, the first one is fossil evidence, which are bones, teeth, etc. Then you have biogeographical evidence. I'm sorry, I'm getting a request to join a meeting, but I'm not able to do that right now. I'll do it in a second. Which is the distribution of plants and animals throughout the world, where they're found, how did they get there, as what they look at. Are there the same kinds of things in different places? Did they follow the same evolutionary path or not? That's what they look for. And then anatomical evidence, similarity in structure of body or limbs, even if the function is different. So you have analogous and homologous structures. And those are things that either have the same bone structure underneath and perform different functions, or things that do the same function, but their structure is different.
I need the following students to report to the office. Rebel Clay, Brianna Gum, Destiny Johns, and Alexis Smith. Please come to the office.
Okay, natural selection. A species adjusts to its environment based on variation. Individuals of a species may vary in physical characteristics. Therefore, these characteristics can be passed on from one generation to the next. You have a struggle for existence because of limitations of resources such as food or water or a place to live, shelter. Sometimes that's even sea anemones and things like that that take up space on rocks, and tide pools will even compete for places to attach resources-wise. And so the total population of a species can stay about the same. Only certain individuals will survive or reproduce. And you might see a fluctuation in that, like prey will increase, and then predators will increase, which causes prey to drop. Then predators will drop because their food supply drops, and so on. So there's always little waves going on in your populations, but they maintain a steady load as long as no big factors come in and change. Survival of the fittest. Some individuals are better able to obtain the resources, and because they have a characteristic that gives them an advantage over others lacking the trait. The environment therefore selects these better adapted members to have offspring and pass on the strong trait. And we'll talk more about that when we get into evolution, but the idea of you are only considered evolutionary fit if you are able to have a lot of babies, because that's how you pass on your genes from one generation to the next. All right, almost done. Humans are considered vertebrates, which are animals with a nerve cord protected by a vertebral column made up of vertebrae. That's your subphylum, which are vertebrates, vertebrata, because of the type of backbone that we have. You have other subphylums that talks about a more cartilaginous skeleton. And we're most closely related to chimpanzees. We have about 95% of our DNA in common with them, but our highly developed brains is one of the things that distinguish us from chimpanzees, as well as an upright stance and the power of creative language. And again, humans did not evolve from apes. It's a big misconception. We got to get that out of your head. We have a common ancestor from which humans came and apes came, if you believe in the theory of evolution in terms of different speciations. So through just a series of natural selection events, you have your human branch that came off of this common primate ancestor, and then you have your ape branch that came off of it as well. So the scientific method Let's talk about the parts of it. First, you have your observation, then you have your question or problem. Next is your hypothesis. Finally, then you do your experiment. You record, interpret, and analyze data, and then you reach a conclusion. And it's okay if it does not agree with your hypothesis. And you have to discuss and write about that conclusion, and then form new questions to test again. Technology is the application of science. Different things that technology has caused to evolve in itself over time. One of those is communication. Started off with smoke signals and grunts, and eventually we got signal flags, light signals, and finally our cell phones and all this technology that we're using to communicate from here to where you are at home. You also have transportation as another one. It started out just walking. We saddled different other organisms to ride them, and then now we have trains and planes and cool magnetic trains that go super fast. And sometimes as technology advances, our methods of movement or communication or whatever, it can be harmful, like exhaust gases from automobiles. You can have eye strain if you're hunched over and squinting at a computer, back strain. Sometimes helpful inventions can be harmful when they're abused, such as the atomic bomb. So nuclear power was an incredible invention, but it's caused drastic harm in society. So there's ethics involved in technology regulation. Who regulates it? Does the government regulate it? Do you regulate technology in your own body? Like how often you use your cell phone? Where you locate your cell phone when it's not in use? Do you store it by your head when you're sleeping? Those kinds of things. Are we okay to do human cloning? Who has the right to say whether or not we do? In AP Biology, we talked about the 3-person baby and how it couldn't be done in the United States. It had to be made in Mexico. Is it okay to clone farm animals, and who regulates that? And stem cell research. Should we be able to use embryos for stem cells or not? And because they're not even called embryos at the stage where stem cells are harvested from them, usually. So, what are the limitations of science? It is not absolute. Science is never absolute. You never know everything. It never gives you 100% of all the correct answers. So it's often changing, especially our knowledge of space, the ocean depths, hurricanes, earthquakes. We are finding out so much. I mean, the theory of gravitational waves was just proven or shown that we have proof that they do exist just a few years ago, and Einstein put that theory out decades ago. Also, it is always changing. There's always new ideas, theories, and discoveries. And why study science? It's because everything deals with science. I love science. It makes the world around me make sense, and I love learning new things. And I hope in this class you'll love learning new things too. There's my little TV speech. And we can just have a really awesome year. So again, if you need extra stuff, just go back and re-listen and write down your notes. And email me if you have any questions. I'll see you guys later.